Good evening and welcome to our regularly scheduled board meeting. The Sahuarita board members and district administrators or administrations are meeting in the district auditorium. There will also be accommodations for up to 75 members of the community to attend the meeting. The meeting will be live streamed by use of YouTube, which allows for members of the public to view and or listen to the meeting virtually. If you need accommodations, please reach out to Betsy Palacio at bpalacios@sahuarita.net. A link has been provided for any call to the public comments. 20 minutes will be allowed for reading of online and in-person comments at the meeting. Any comments not read during the agenda item will still be entered into public record. We will adhere to all board meeting procedures to the extent practicable. An audio recording and or draft copy of the minutes from this meeting will be available to the public, and we apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate unprecedented conditions. If you'd please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the roll call. Ms. Palacio?
Governing Board President Kevin Opalka.
Here.
Governing Board Clerk Denise Reese.
Here.
Governing Board Member Sherry Lowell.
Here.
Governing Board Member Dr. John Sparks.
Here.
Governing Board Member Nicole Warner.
Here.
District Administration Superintendent Dr. Manuel Valenzuela.
Present.
Assistant Superintendent Scott Down.
Present.
Assistant Superintendent Brett Bonner.
Here.
Chief Financial Officer Lisette Huey.
Here.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, sir. Mr. Polk, I recommend approval of the revised agenda as presented.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Motion carries. We'll move on to approval of the minutes. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, sir. Mr. Polk, members of the board, you have in your packet draft copies of the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of the board from way back on November 10, 2021. And after reviewing consideration, I do recommend approval at this time.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same? Okay. Thank you very much. The motion carries. We'll move on to the ratification of the vouchers.
Good
Ms.
evening,
Huey.
everyone. Tonight, I recommend payroll vouchers 10, 11, new payroll vouchers 15, totaling $6,394,687.18. Additionally, I recommend expense vouchers 1035 to 1044 and new expense vouchers 1055 to 1058 for total expense vouchers of $9,173,307.61 for a grand total of $15,567,994.79.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Motion carries. We'll move on to the superintendent's reports.
Thank you very much, President Opalka, members of the board. This is an item that I particularly appreciate because it gives me a chance to share about the exciting and wonderful things that are happening around our community. I'll start just by sharing that we just got a bit of good news as a result of an item that I mentioned months ago about our initiative to secure funding from the federal E-rate program for technology. And my colleague, Ms. Huey, has shared that we were not only successful, but that we now have in our possession 1,125 Chromebooks that are going to help with remote learning, use of technology in the classroom, and individualizing instruction and lowering device ratios. So we're very excited and grateful for the initiative with that program. We also have encouraging news in the area of enrollment. You know, that's a regular item at every meeting. As you can see, the lower right-hand yellow square rectangle says that there's 18 more students than there were at the last meeting. And if you look at the trend data over time, you see the gap widening over time. You see the blue line is this year, The orange one is last year. You can see that last year with the depths of the recession, once we started going down, it just kept sloping that direction. Much better this year. Not only did we start higher, but we've been able to maintain it and even expand that gap, which from an operational, programmatic, and financial standpoint is a very good thing. I just wanted to share, last night I had the chance to attend an amazing band and orchestra concert. It happened to be the one from Walden Grove High School, but there are items here almost every night. Somewhere around here is our auditorium director, Nick McLean. He probably camps out here because there's something going on every night, and it's all wonderful. It's so nice to see our students shining, succeeding, and thriving, and it just really reminds me that the arts are a vital part of a balanced, strong, well-rounded education, and I'm grateful to this community for your sacrifice and investment so that we can offer that starting in the elementary school, because the kind of music I heard last night from high school kids, you don't just pick up the trumpet and make that kind of music. It starts in 5th grade, and those of you parents know what I'm talking about, the squeaks and all the sounds that you hear in 4th and 5th grade, but it pays off. So very happy about that. Speaking of success, our NJROTC program continues to shine brightly, literally. This is our team. They participated in it's called the Clash of the Titans, but it's a competition among ROTC battalions and companies from all over the state. And this is our leadership development program. These young people are amazing. They competed against ROTC units across the state from the entire region, and they compete in things like field meet, armed regulation, armed exhibition, unarmed, armed drill, color guard, push-ups, curl-ups, all kinds of relays, and also personnel inspection. And they came in first place, and they qualified for the Area 11 Super Bowl, which is like all of the western states. They're going in February to Santa Ana, California, where they compete against all of the best of all of these areas in the western region. And we are very, very proud of our young people. Let's see, I wanted to just, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention yesterday when I picked up the paper and I saw the remembrance of, I can't believe it's been 80 years since our country was brought into war with the attack on Pearl Harbor. Really a lot of emotions. Mainly, to me, it's the character of the American people that we at the end of the day, we are a united country. We are committed to freedom, and that when tough things come, we stick together and we get through them. So it kind of was affirming in a way, given all that we've been through in the last couple of years, that we need to stick together and we're going to get through this stuff. So at that point, other than that, I'd just like to echo the sentiments previously shared, extending my wishes for what I think is the message of the season, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or something else. It's hope and goodwill. So I wish you that, and thank you for the time.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the governing board reports. Ms. Lowell.
Thank you very much. It's just been a pleasure to be on campus and see end of the year celebrations. This is our last board meeting until 2022. It's great to see and celebrate all the accomplishments of the kids. I would encourage everybody to stay in touch on social media with every school's site, because there is something happening every single night. And if you can pop into one of those, it would be fantastic. It really is encouraging. And I'd just like to wish all of our students and all of our staff happy holidays, and I'm looking forward to 2022.
Thank you. Dr. Sparks.
Thank you. I too, actually, when I picked up the Wall Street Journal in the morning yesterday and saw that front page, above fold, the remembrance of 80 years from Pearl Harbor, and the picture was military personnel and a few individuals, mostly in wheelchairs, with blankets, and going out to visit the memorial. And I too am grateful for the country we live in and the sacrifices of those that fought in various conflicts since that point. And especially this time of the holiday season, I really do. As I drove here today, and it took almost 10 or 12 minutes longer to get here than it normally does because of the traffic. I'm grateful, and hopefully over the last couple years in particular, we can reflect on being together and spending time with people that we care about. And I too am just grateful for everybody's efforts and participation and drive in this kind of era we've gone through, and hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season, whatever that looks like for you. And I appreciate everybody's involvement. I appreciate being able to be here and be involved in this great organization. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Reese.
I just want to express gratitude, especially to staff and teachers, everyone who works for the district, especially. It's been a crazy fall, and we truly do see that, and we do appreciate it. And I want to wish all of our families and all our community members, please have a happy, safe, and healthy holiday. So,
Ms. Warner.
It's always so weird going after these guys because they say everything so well. But also, I wanted to congratulate all the students that participated in their school-wide spelling bees and that are moving on to the district spelling bee, and our teams at the high school that played great last night. And speaking of people that camp out at our school, Beth Lear once again was there. She's a great presence, just there with the kids and the community, and yeah, it was just nice, and happy holidays.
Yeah, and by the time he gets to me, everything's been said, but I was able to observe the Onset Trail spelling bee, and those kids are amazing. You know, to get up there, the stage presence that they have from, you know, I think it's 3rd grade all the way through 8th grade that compete. Phenomenal job. You know, they're just doing great things all the time, so appreciate that. And we'll move on to the recognition of students. One of our favorite events.
Absolutely. The leader in character, and it's wonderful to see all of you here this evening to celebrate our amazing students. Thank you, Mr. Opalka, for doing the honors. Just for anybody that might be new, a quick snapshot. This truly is a high and very special honor, which this board's been doing for, I think, all of my tenure as superintendent, which is 11 and a half years. And it really speaks to the value that this board has always and continues to have. Tremendous value for the importance of character, citizenship, honor, integrity, and just setting a positive example as young leaders in our schools. We only select, as you see, a handful of students every month, 1 or 2 from each school, and nominated by their schools for the amazing example that they set. And we believe that these things, these attributes, citizenship, character, that these are as important as anything else that they learn about math or reading or writing. It's about just being solid people and setting that example as part of the learning process. So we just want you to know how proud we are of you, and parents and grandparents and siblings and nanas and tatas, everybody who's here. We know that it's a family affair to guide and model and shape these values. So thank you. We are proud of you. We're proud of your children, and we look forward to continuing to see the amazing things that they're going to do. So we're going to provide you with a very nice certificate, a letter, and a gift card to Barnes & Noble. We'll ask you to come down. President Opalka will present you with your award. We'll guide you over there to where my colleague, Mr. Bonner, is, and we'll spread you out up there, and Mrs. Woods is going to take a picture and send it to our local newspaper, which is one of our sponsors, and they do a great job of putting you all in the newspaper so that the whole city and town and county can see how awesome you are. So let us begin. I think we have a couple of students that may be here this evening from the month of November. One of them is from Sahuarita Middle School. Congratulations, Bentley Murdoch. Bentley, are you here? Yeah, okay. Congratulations, Bentley. I think there's a student from Sahuarita High School that may not have made it last month. Isaiah Miller, who's a sophomore. Isaiah, are you here? Okay. We will follow up on that, and we will now dive right into the honorees for December of 2021, beginning with Sopari Elementary School. Congratulations, our leader in character honoree, Manuel Alvarez. And we will now recognize our leader in character from Anza Trail School. I should say leaders in character. We do two from Anza because elementary and middle school. Beginning elementary, we have a first grade student to be recognized. Congratulations, Arlen Rubalcava. Congratulations, Arlen. And our middle school leader in character from Anza Trail is 7th grader Rome Sexton. Our leader in character from Sahuarita Primary School is another first grader. Congratulations, Wyatt Davis. We'll move on to Sahuarita Intermediate School, where we are proud to congratulate 4th grader Hannah Knight. At Copperview Elementary School, home of the Bulldogs, we would like to present the Leader in Character Award to 3rd grader Dante Kelly. Congratulations, Dante. We now move to Wrightson Ridge, which also has 2 recognized students because of the elementary and middle school thing. And we begin with our elementary honoree, Samantha Martinez. Samantha. And our middle school leader in character from Wrightson Ridge is a 7th grader. Congratulations, Jeremiah McGee. Sahuarita Middle School is next, and we recognize another 7th grader. Congratulations, Jessica Smith. There's Jessica. And we now recognize our high school students, beginning with Sahuarita High School. Our leader in character from SHS is a sophomore. Congratulations, Stephanie Gonzalez. And our leader in character from Walden Grove High is a senior, and we congratulate Brianna Allen. Congratulations, Brianna. And last but not least, as you recall, we have a new school, Sahuarita Digital Pathways Academy, or SDPA as it's affectionately known. And we have a leader in character from SDPA. Congratulations, 4th grader Valerie Nilsson. Congratulations, Valerie. Mr. Bonner, if you could kind of coordinate and choreograph them up there, and Mrs. Woods will take your picture. And again, congratulations. Parents, you're welcome to stay, but we certainly understand it's a school night and all that, so please don't be shy if you have to go. Oh. Hey, Scott. Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Elia Manjarre. This is my first year teaching at Sahuarita High School. I teach physical education. I'm here tonight to discuss a specific issue regarding my compensation. Coming from TUSD and Sunnyside school districts, I was always paid for locker room supervision during my planning period. Not only do I supervise the female students of my coworkers, Mr. Boyder and Mr. Bolnow, but I am expected to supervise the athletic teams when they change for their home and away games. This includes volleyball, basketball, softball, soccer, swimming, wrestling, cross country, and cheer. That is only the first semester sports teams. My supervision includes, but is not limited to, locker assignments and distribution, lock combination lessons, keeping records of combinations in lockers, assistance of opening lockers, this happens on a daily basis, removal of locks with bolt cutters, providing entrance into equipment and or training rooms when needed, providing clothing, feminine and first aid products, the use of my own personal bathroom because the stall lines are too long. 3 days ago, I had to intervene to prevent a physical altercation between 3 soccer players. I have never witnessed a female coach supervise her team in the locker room, not once. Before accepting the position of PE teacher at Sahuarita High School, I specifically inquired about my responsibilities and duties and what they entailed. It was never mentioned to me that I would be supervising the locker room during my planning period, nor was it ever mentioned
That you hold your comments to 2 minutes or less, and we've exceeded that time. Thank you.
I just have a little bit more. May I continue? Yes. Because of Mr. Boyder's overcrowded classes, he is paid a 6/5. I also requested a 6/5 position because my classes were overpopulated as well. Mr. Boyder supported this. However, the administration denied it. Mr. Bull now has the opportunity to mandatory in-house substitute during his planning period at the rate of $20 an hour. Most of the teachers at SHS substitute in-house because of the substitute teacher shortage within the district. I am not allowed that opportunity because I have locker room supervision duty. I emailed Human Resources about this compensation request, but by his remarks, the employee who corresponded with me was under the assumption that I did not walk around during that small time frame, and that's in quotes.
You've
I
more than
corrected
exceeded
him by
twice.
disclosing just some of my responsibilities. As
Can we
the
have the
year,
next person, please? Thank you.
I'd like to continue because this is about you, Mr. Downs.
I'm sorry.
Specifically about you and how you responded to my email.
2 minutes is the allotted time per individual, and we've said that more than once today. I'd like you to have.
I have less than 30 seconds.
I'd like you to have a seat, please.
May I continue?
No, please have a seat. Thank you. Next, please.
That's actually the extent of our call to the public
Thank you
this
very
evening.
much. Ms. Alive, I was not aware that you were the only person tonight. If you'd like to come back up and finish your statement, you may go ahead and do so.
I emailed Human Resources about this compensation request. By his remarks, the employee who corresponded with me was under the assumption that all I did was walk around during that small time frame, and that's in quotes. I corrected him by disclosing just some of my responsibilities. As a year has progressed, there have been more. I also included the math, which indicated that 25 minutes per day at 180 days of that small time frame amounts to 75 hours. That's $1,500. I think it's worth noting that 25 minutes daily is the minimum amount of time that I supervise. I assume my concern was dismissed because I never heard back a response. In closing, I feel that my request for compensation regarding this matter is not unreasonable. In fact, I feel it is equitable and appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the proposed fee schedule for 2022-2023.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Apalka, members of the board. For the board's information and the public, according to Arizona state law, fees are allowed to be assessed on students under very specific conditions, basically to capture costs that are beyond the basic needs and the scope of a program, where there is a clear additional cost. I can tell you that the historical orientation of this board has always been that we want to keep those to a minimum, and that we want to maximize access of students to all of our educational programs. I will say, and I say this proudly, we have not raised fees for almost 10 years. However, we have continued to grow, develop new programs, which we're very proud of. Additionally, as we all know, even in recent times and not so recent times, the costs of raw materials, instructional supplies, and similar resources have increased significantly. So we did review and kind of scrutinize and evaluate some of these requests, and did found that there is some merit to a reasonable request for an increase at this time. I'll make just a few comments about the requests here. First of all is that we did compare our recommended increases with the fees assessed by some of our peer public school districts in the region. And I would describe overall that with these increases, we're solidly in the middle. We're not the highest, we're not the lowest, but we're definitely not the highest. Another thing is that one thing that always has been part of our culture and kind of our value system here is that no student who otherwise wants to take any one of our programs and is otherwise qualified is going to be denied. So we work with individual exceptions and circumstances when there's a hardship case or something like that. Just on another note, you see the list there before you, a couple of things. One, the music instrument fee is a new one that was recommended by district-wide by music faculty, and that's because we do have a number of instruments that we own, that we maintain as a district, and that we make available to students. So that, again, so all students can have access to these programs, but they break and they need regular repair. And so this fee, annual fee of $30, seemed reasonable and prudent. Again, I think the thought is, if somebody wants to play and they have a hardship, we'll work with them. You see a lot of the items down that go to like $60. I can just tell you so that you might be asking, well, how much of an increase is it? Most of those that have $60 tagged on to them previously were $50. So it's an increase, but it's not orders of magnitude increase. It's a percentage increase. And we are, again, I have every hope and intention that if the board approves this request this evening, that not only will it stabilize our costs and put us in the mid-range with our peers, meet expectations and costs, but also that this is something that we won't have to come back in the foreseeable future for an additional increase. So with that, Mr. Bonner kind of spearheads the analysis, the outreach to principal leadership and other relevant parties. Brett, did you have any other comments to make before I make a recommendation on this?
Just, we really adhere to a process of hearing from other stakeholders, our principals, our music teachers, comparing rates from other varying districts within our Pima County region. In addition to that, based on the board feedback last year, you'll see on the very bottom, in that small asterisk, small print, we added this little note that performing arts uniform fee may be assessed. And that comes up every so often when there's a special performance and there's a uniform or a special performance costume. And that communication is communicated by that performing arts teacher to the parent. So if we were to add everything, it changes every year and it varies, but we wanted just parents to know that this is the general course fees that we operate on a daily basis each year. And in addition to that, there may be things that come up that are specific to a unique holiday performance, end of year performance, where uniforms may come about, but that is communicated. And if there is not a funding source, we do have ways to scholarship, assist, and make sure that no student would go without. And that's in all categories.
Thank you very much.
And with that, I would recommend the approval of these fees. I believe that our leadership team is ready to initiate, believe it or not, preparations for the next academic year. And so at this point, I would recommend approval of the fee schedule as presented.
Thank you. We have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Just a point of clarification on the music instrument fee for fifth grade, the $30, is that assessed to all individuals or only those who are using school instruments?
It would be for all individuals that, I believe, from my understanding, are renting the actual
Brett,
device.
as I recall, I think that, I'm glad you asked that, because as I recall, this does not apply to students who are going to the Beaver's Bandbox or the Chicago store, because they already have their own
This is
private.
in-house.
It's
In-house
for,
rental
it's
fee.
for students that are using our instrument. And I see Mr. Carl Ogren over there nodding in the affirmative, so thank you for that
Just wanted,
clarification.
yep, just want to make sure
In-house.
it's an in-house rental fee for
Yeah.
our equipment. Okay, got it.
Mr. President, Kevin Opalka, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, athletic general gate fee, that's what's charged at the gate for entrance into high school. Do we have any middle schools that charge a gate fee, or is it just high school?
I believe it's strictly a high school endeavor.
And whether a gate fee is assessed is up to the individual school, correct? Because I realize, I noticed that some sports at some schools charge a gate fee and others don't charge a gate fee.
My
at all of those
observation,
sports.
frankly, and it's totally anecdotal, we have a high school administrator in the building right now, but my understanding is that it's more based on the sport. It's pretty universal from school to school and even district to district. Some of the sports like basketball, wrestling, football, they charge one. Some of the others, maybe track and field, I know baseball, they don't. So I think it's more by sport as it is the choice by school. I would guess that both SHS, for example, and Walden have the same practices.
And what was it prior to 3 to 5? Or is it new?
Brett, do you, Mr. Bonner, did
Because
the
I don't remember,
detail work
it was
on
probably,
that?
might have been on there, but I
Yeah,
just don't remember it.
I have a note here. Prior to that, I believe it was 2.4. Ms. Miller, can you confirm?
2.4.
No, the amount is the same. I don't think it was on the last fee schedule. So
It
this is just
wasn't on
adding
last-
it to
okay,
the fee
then
schedule.
Then I'm not, okay, then
Yes.
because I was like, I don't remember seeing it. That's why I
No,
was.
it wasn't listed because they were doing it as a fundraiser request instead of having it as a fee request. So this year they're asking it as a fee request so they don't have to do it as a fundraiser. But the amount has not changed. It's 3 and 5.
3.5.
So then it can still be collected and utilized, but it doesn't have to get a fee request, or it doesn't have to get a fundraiser.
Fundraiser
request.
approval.
It doesn't have to go through the
Exactly.
fundraiser process, and this process is a lot easier, and it's
Okay.
consistent between both schools, so they went this route.
And we were right in the middle range.
Oh,
We-
yeah, I don't have a problem with the dollar value just because I've been to other places and
Yeah.
seen the fees other places. I was just making sure, the last question I have is, doesn't require that we do it now because it is on here. We're still giving schools the flexibility to choose whether or not certain events are charged or not. Correct?
And
That's
a
your
lot- and a lot of
understanding?
the events are not charged.
Okay.
Of course, they know there's an associated fee that was, again, approved by the board in December. So again, it's trying to over-communicate, be transparent, and follow that process.
Great, thank you. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same? Thank you very much. The motion carries. We'll move on to the new course proposal. Dr. Valenzuela.
It's that time again, and it's an exciting time because it signals that we're continuing to push forward, develop, and expand programs that are already in place. Just a few points, and then I'll ask my colleague, Mr. Bonner, to add whatever details he'd like to add. From my lens, we're basically growing programs that are successful, adding fourth year. You see the Roman numeral 4s and 5s up there. Fourth and fifth year programs so that students have an opportunity to complete sequences, earn industry credentials. Another thing is kids are getting a greater and more opportunities to earn high school and collegiate credit while they're in high school, which is just logical. It makes sense. It's what we need to be doing. And the last thing, we are always in pursuit, and it's a core value, that we will individualize instruction to meet the needs of kids. And that beginning weights, I think, really exemplifies that. Brett, any comments or clarifications you'd like to add?
This is exciting. It shows the growth of our programs, and specifically, it aligns to the timing of the year. Pending board approval, it allows us at each school site that presents course proposals to add that in the registration process that takes place right after winter break. So the first course I'd like to present, and it's also included in your board packets, is a course called Beginning Weights. And this course is an introductory weight class. The class will be taught to students of all grade levels at the high school level for both Sahuarita High School and Walden Grove. And it really targets 4 major lifts: the clean, squat, deadlift, and bench using universal strength program. The fee is aligned to what you just approved on the fee request. It's a $5 locker fee. Semester 1, students will learn proper forms of lifts. Semester 2, students would begin lifts with more weight. And really the benefit is to, again, ensure students that are just beginning to learn how to properly weight lift, that they are taught the proper practice and form before beginning to lift heavier weights. That's the first course. The next course is an extension to our engineering program, which would be engineering level 4. The engineering instructional program would prepare students to apply basic engineering principles and technical skills in support of engineers in a wide variety of projects. So this would focus on research, production, operations, application, ties in directly with our STEM initiatives, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This course would also focus on freshmen to continue the course through their senior year without having to repeat a level. So freshmen through 12th grade, engineering 1, 10th through 12th grade, engineering 2, 11th through 12th grade, engineering 3, and then 12th graders, engineering 4. This builds upon our current engineering courses, and again, provides more opportunities for students to receive a certification. Students that complete this course would have an opportunity to complete SolidWorks certificate, and it's similar to computer-aided drafting software certification. The fee is aligned to what has historically been charged for CTE classes, which is $20 per class, and that goes for the materials used for that course. Moving forward, another expansion in our CTE Career Technical Education menu of really cool course offerings is our Automotive Technologies 5 and 6. Thanks to Mr. Rick Garrigan, our auto program is just blossoming. And again, this program is open to both Walden Grove and Sahuarita High School students. We offer 0-hour and flexible scheduling so students of all campuses can attend. This new course proposal helps students prepare to apply technical knowledge such as repair, service, maintain all types of automobiles. They look at engine performance, engine repair, suspension, steering, automatic and manual transmissions, drivetrains, heating and AC conditions. So Automotive Technologies 5 and 6 would be open to grades, 1. Automotive Technologies 1 would be open for grades 9 through 12, level 2, 10 through 12, levels 3 and 4, 11th and 12th graders, and then the new course 5 and 6 open to seniors. Because it's so unique, we don't have an expansion of staffing at this point in time. Mr. Garrigan is able to stabilize offering these courses because we're able to combine some of the courses. Our auto shop is awesome. It's massive, it's spacious. It is a really well-built auto program, and because of the skill set required, the number counts aren't too high at this point where we're not able to combine classes. So for example, we may have technologies 3, 4, 5, and 6 all together in one class and still keep safety at the forefront. It's manageable, and kids now have an opportunity to go to that higher level of automotive without, at this point, hiring more teachers. It may get to that point, but for next year, Mr. Garrigan will still be the primary teacher. If you look back a few years ago with our culinary arts program, we've had to expand to 2 teachers because of the demand. But right now, no major shift to new staff, but we want to create that pathway where students can advance their certifications and experience an automotive sequence. And moving forward, this is really exciting too. If you recall, several years ago, in fact 8 years ago, we launched the National Math Science Initiative specifically to our AP courses, Advanced Placement. We have now over 33 AP courses. And in our conversation with the board and setting vision and direction, we wanted to level the playing field with our dual enrollment courses as well. And we have really amped up dual enrollment offerings, partnering with Pima Community College. They have been awesome to work with. A little shout out to James Palacios, who we work directly with from Pima College, along with Josh Fields, our CTE director. We are moving and shaking, getting some really great classes to offer to students. And here's how we like to expand in our new dual enrollment courses. For clarity purposes, I'm sharing this seeking board approval. It does not mean we're going to offer all of these classes next year. The reason we're seeking approval is so that we can work with Pima to establish that pathway and build an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement with Pima, so we can build these sequences over a multiple year span. It won't all be available next year. It's a long time process, but with your authority to move forward, we could build those pathways for students working closely with Pima College. So briefly, Auto 120, it's engine diagnosis and repair. Auto 126, engine performance and drivability troubleshooting. Auto 128, which is automotive electrical fundamentals and applications. We have Auto 138, which is specific to suspension systems. Auto 139 is automotive steering and alignment systems. Auto 140, automotive brakes, diagnosis and repair. Auto 142 is automotive heating, ventilation, AC, all the HVAC systems. Those are specific to the auto program. Now transitioning to law and public safety, it would be Law and Public Safety AGS 204, Criminal Investigations. This is the Fundamentals of Modern Criminal Investigation course. Law and Public Safety AJS 212, which is Juvenile Justice Procedures. This course would examine causes, responses, and prevailing legal and social practices in law enforcement and delinquency in America. AGS 225, Criminology, which is survey the nature, extent, and control of crime and delinquency. And then AGS, Law and Public Safety Course 250, Criminal Justice, Crime Control Policies and Practices. This focuses on changes, the distribution of crime opportunities rather than offender motivation. At this time, we would continue to create that pathway with our CTE program. Doug Hansen, who is our CTE teacher, retired FBI agent. We work closely with Pima Community College. Students will take these courses, build their pathway. These courses then transfer to their post-secondary experience. If they go to Pima, they've already established a strong foundation of these courses, and they can become certified when they go to either Pima College or another institution that would accept these courses as part of the dual enrollment program. This is great. We've set up, because of the board's support, students can now start their freshman year, and by the time they're done with high school, following a pathway of required high school courses and available dual enrollment classes, you can earn up to an associate's degree by the time you graduate. And again, a huge shout out to Pima College, Josh Fields, our CT director. We are now, and I feel confident in saying this, we are now able to offer a very strong advanced placement opportunity and a very strong dual enrollment opportunity for all of our students. And we're in a really good place, and this support will only allow us to grow and to continue those pathways for our students.
And with that, I do recommend approval of these new course proposals for 22-23 as presented.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to say I'm really excited about this. That's all.
Excellent. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The same? Nope. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the budget update. Ms. Huey.
Good evening, everyone. This is our regularly monthly update in regards to our M&O budget and our year expenditures compared to last year around this time. And so you can see in the blue is our current year-to-date, and in the orange is our prior year-to-date. And as you can see that there's a significant reduction of our expenses compared to last year. But I want to also acknowledge that the reason for it is not because we're spending less, but it's because we've actually received the ESSER 3 funding. And you'll see that the difference is that last year we had the ESG, our Enrollment Stabilization Grant, that came in later in the year. And so we reverted expenses in January of last year. And this year we received those funding approvals earlier. So we went ahead and moved and shifted those expenses to the ESSER 3 funds. That's the only difference that you see here, but other than that, it's still going through the same, you can see that it's still following the same trend as we have in years past, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Ms. Huey? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the public online auction items. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, sir. Once again, we have a list of items that have been deemed exhausted their useful life and fit for placement on public auction so that we may capture residual value, and I do recommend your approval of this list at this time.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Motion carries. We'll move on to the energy savings update presentation. Dr. Valenzuela.
Thank you, President Opalka, members of the board. For those of us that can think back over the pre-pandemic years, actually shortly before, we embarked on a very large, very bold initiative to tap renewable energy resources and to strive to tap these resources like higher energy efficiency apparatus and like the sun, which we have lots of usually here in southern Arizona, and also to stabilize our sometimes volatile energy costs. I mean, the way that energy is kind of set up and structured, it kind of ebbs and flows sometimes pretty rapidly. And so with those goals in mind, I asked my colleague, Mr. Downs, to kind of lead this charge. And if you walk around our campuses, you see a lot of evidence that a lot of work's been done. Now, the question that was wisely asked by some of you on the board is, how's it going? We've been at it about a year. How are we doing? How much money are we saving? How effective has it been? And so I asked Mr. Downs this evening to provide us kind of a snapshot of where we are at this point in time. Mr. Downs.
Thank you, Dr. Valenzuela, members of the board. I appreciate always being able to do this presentation, as it's exciting to kind of see the fruits of our labor and what they have produced, literally. As you can imagine, at your house, you have one water meter, one electric meter, one gas meter. It's pretty easy to obtain that information. And it is relatively easy for us, but the sheer volume of the data that we have is quite large. So what we did to show you that the systems are working was we compared June 2020 to June 2021. So the results that you're going to see tonight are just for the comparisons of June. Now, being so large of a data, Mr. Potts that works at Onza Trail School is our energy efficiency guru. He's the one that pulls all the data for me, and I didn't want him to pull every single month because it was just so much. But we can take what we're going to look in June and maybe apply it to every month, and I'll tell you why maybe, because when I saw the numbers of June, I was very excited, but then when I multiplied it by 12, tried to calculate or verify what our payment was going to be, I had some concerns at first. And I'll get to that in a moment, but let me show you the comparisons of June 2020 to June 2021. And I don't want to go through all of these in detail, but I specifically asked Mr. Potts to break out the solar because that seems to be the biggest savings, and it's just kind of neat to see it by school. So as you look through these, the first slide basically shows Sahuarita Primary School. Again, the top line is 2020 to 2021. The green is the savings in kilowatts or the percentage, and the cost savings on the right column. So you can see the savings for primary school and the intermediate school. Walden Grove and Wrightson. Copperview. Sahuarita Central Cafeteria. Sahuarita High School classrooms, because it had its own general meters, we kind of clumped those. Anja Trail School, 9,000. Generally, the larger the school, the more savings. Copperview actually had quite a bit of savings too. Their school is used a lot in the summer because of summer programs. You can see the Sahuarita Auditorium saved $2,400 in that month. Middle school, $6,000. Sahuarita High School Cafeteria, because it was on its own meter. Sopri, about $3,000. So the totals, if you add up all those green numbers, is about $48,000, which I was very excited about. And again, if you were to just look at that, that's a great savings. But I did want to, Manny had asked me to do this presentation about a month ago, but I asked Mr. Potts, because once we think about energy savings, we always just think about solar. But we also have gas, and we also have our water efficiency program with our low flush toilets and everything else that we did. So the next slide, it doesn't break every school down, because again, it would have been another 15 slides. But when we look at gas savings, it was actually a cost of $300 in June. And my question to Mr. Paz was, how in the world could that be? That just doesn't make sense to me. And the issue is, we don't use a lot of gas in June. And if you go to the next slide, this is basically his words that I kind of spruced up a little bit. And basically, if you look at the two words in red, unless you want to read the whole thing, is regardless of how much gas we use in June, we have to pay a $40 flat fee for each meter, and when you have 50 meters, that's $2,000 a month that you pay just to have your meters, and you're not really using gas. So when we look at June, there's not a whole lot of savings, and it's pretty understandable why, because we also have variable charges with the delivery charges and multipliers and this big long formula. So that was kind of interesting, but I wanted to tell you what Mr. Potts had said about that. The last slide is the water savings from June 20 to 21. And it was about $7,000, $7,500 district-wide. Well, when I said we could maybe apply what we saw in June to every single month, well, you know, if we take, let's just round it up to $60,000 and you multiply that by 12, you get $720,000. Our first payment is about $1 million. So immediately I said, well, Mr. Potts, this doesn't make any sense. This is supposed to be cost neutral. So either way, we're okay. If we're short $300,000, they have to make up the difference. And he politely told me in so many words, Scott, just be patient for a second, because every month is different. Every month may not use electric. We use a lot more gas in December. So really, when logically, what I thought was doing was taking the savings of June and just multiplying it by 12, and that should give us a good shot. He said that might be the case, but probably not. So until we look at every single month and really compare the end of the year savings and really get a good picture of what's happening, that'll give us a better shot. All of our systems were kind of up and running, I believe in April is when I did the last presentation, and everything was up and going. So really, when we look from April of last year to April of this year, and we look at every single month, we'll have a better picture of really is our system performing the way they designed it to. Because again, if it doesn't perform, we're not eating the difference. They have to eat the difference. So really, the pressure's on them and not us. So again, I just showed you June. I apologize I didn't do every month, but it was a pretty labor intensive. Mr. Potts did go to a training on Friday and met with them, and they have a system which I'm always skeptical, because I always like to use our own system and verify it with, adding it up. So he's using their system. I'm sure it's a valid system. So he'll be able to pull a lot more detailed reports for us when we want. But I did want to end, unless you had any questions about those numbers and what happened there, there is a wonderful slide presentation that I want to show you that the company put together that is really pretty neat to see. It's about 2 minutes. And again, just looking at those numbers really gives you the magnitude of how big the project it is and what it's supposed to do. And it is in our contract that it is cost neutral to us. So for some reason it does, obviously it is performing. If it doesn't perform the way that they designed it, they have to eat the difference. So, and I can answer any questions that you guys might have.
I had a question. I know that for water fixtures specifically, that the toilets have been replaced. Is there a thought process about replacing also sink-type fixtures to the automatic ones or something along those lines in the future?
Yes and no.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is if it would have been logical for them to do that and been a cost savings, I think they would have already done it.
Okay.
The reason I say no is it's not in the plans to do that now. If at any time they think that they need to come back and get some more savings, they think that would help, then certainly they would put that in. A lot of the sinks, I know especially in our building too, is you push it and it can't be stuck on. It's on a pressurized system. So within at least 15, 20 seconds, it shuts itself off. So we have the ability to make sure that we're not wasting the water by somebody turning on the faucet and walking away. But no, that's not in the plans right now, but I know that they research every option and put the best things that they want to guarantee those savings.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for
Yep.
that
Thank
presentation.
you for the
It's,
opportunity.
you know, very educational, and, you know, just a note about the price of gas and per therm was $1 more this year than it was the previous year, and we used actually less gas, it looks like, and still ended up paying, you know, $400 more. So, you know, that's the way things are, right? So thank you very much. We'll move on to the policy advisories, first readings. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, sir, Mr. Apaka, members of the board. We know we get these from time to time. This list is very lengthy and very robust. I can tell you that it largely emerges from the conclusion of the most recent legislative session. And we've purposely waited a little bit of time to let things settle. As we all know, there have been a lot of these laws that were on again, off again, in court, out of court. We just wanted to make sure that we wanted to have accurate information so that we're not changing, revising, and going back and forth on policy. So these have been checked for their most recent validity and accuracy. Again, these are, they basically don't change the law. They just reflect our policies with what is already on the books in the law. So we're all still bound by whatever is in the law. But just and they're all available for review. Some of the examples of what emerged from our legislative session is, one example is that if the board chooses to create an advisory committee, this board historically hasn't usually done that, but if you do, there's certain requirements for makeup and noticing and things like that. There's a provision that allows the president to recess a meeting without a vote if it's needed to maintain the decorum of the board meeting, et cetera. There's something in there that says that in call to the public, people can't use it to solicit products or goods or services, that they have to go through the usual process. It's stuff that I think is pretty much how we've always operated. Let's see what else we got here. It requires additional clarity about pre-employment screenings, specifically as it relates to support staff personnel, and I'm always in very close contact with Mr. Downs about making sure that we are in full compliance, or that we do what we have to get in full compliance. There's one that reinforces calendar requirements. I really didn't see much change other than clarification. 180 days, 5 days per week. If you're doing 5 days, it's 20 days in a month. So again, it's things that are pretty much affirming of what we've done. There was one that you might have read about that had to do with the teaching of family life, or sex education as it's sometimes known. And it basically says that you can't start till 5th grade. So we've made that accommodation, we've made that adjustment. It also says something that we already do, that for participation in programs like that, parents have to give overt, written, active consent that they want their kids to participate. and that they have a chance to review the materials before they actually decide to do it. So again, this stuff is not new. There's one in there about the importance of giving timely notice to students in grade 3 if they're coming into difficulties in regards to literacy and reading proficiency. Because there's some things that we have to do in that regard pertaining to remediation and possible retention, which Mr. Bonner capably handles. Let's see. There's something in there about it's kind of some parameters and criteria pertaining to the disciplinary actions, particularly suspension of elementary age students. So it's a robust list, again, largely tied to the legislature, as is standard practice, I think wise practice in our board. My recommendation this evening is that the board table this item just to give a chance for anybody that wants to read it, give input, to do so, and then we usually bring it back for a second reading and final approval. So tonight the recommendation is for table.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second. Any discussion? Okay. We'll bring these back in January, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess we have to have a vote, so all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll bring them back in January now. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Dr. Valenzuela.
Let's see. Consent.
We're on,
Did we-
Mr. Opaka, we're on number 10.
I have none next to my new business on mine.
On the revised agenda,
Oh.
we have new co-director of staff development named to be announced.
You just
Thank you
gave
very
someone
much
in
for-
the room a small heart attack. I'm just going to put that out there. Like, there was like this, like, what? I'm sitting up here.
This is why they keep me on contract. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to 10. I've got the wrong agenda up in front of me, but yeah, go ahead.
I gotta chuckle because I, myself, made an oversight and we didn't have it on the original agenda. So I think it already raised a little bit of anxiety and level of concern. Is there something you're all not telling me? So I clarified with Mr. Carl Ogren that that wasn't the case. And so when I heard this, it was just, thank you, Kevin, for adding a little additional levity and affirmation. But this is actually a very serious and important event. You know, one of the most important things that I do as superintendent is make recommendations about the appointment of people. I think the greatest investment we make is in people. And when you're talking about leadership in any sense, but certainly in regards to something that I believe is so powerful and has become such a pillar of who we are, I think I just can't say how important this recommendation is. So professional development, you hear people say a lot, it's the greatest thing that impacts kids, what teachers can do. I always clarify that. There's a lot of things that impact what students do in the classroom. I would say the one with the greatest effect size is factors that are oftentimes outside of control, that they have to do with environment in the home, family influence, et cetera. But I do know that the greatest effect size, I think the effect size is that for those that look at this stuff, the effect size is like about 0.5, which is a pretty good fraction of a standard deviation. And it says that of those effects that impact, that we can control in the school, what teachers are capable of, knowledgeable, professionally skilled at, and can do is the greatest effect in terms of student outcomes. And we have invested greatly in the belief that we are going to not only outreach, recruit the best people we can find, the smartest, most dedicated, most student-centered people we can find, but we're going to invest in helping them get better and better and better and grow throughout their continuum. And I'm really proud to say that in the time that I've been here, it's been my joy to watch the growth of this effort with Mr. Bonner's leadership and Mr. Harcourt, who's up there too, and Ms. Boyder, and our principal leadership buy in and grow. If you look at our staff development program, it's a model program. And the exciting thing is that's not good enough. We want to get better and better and better, and that's why I am excited about this evening. So We take these decisions very seriously. Mr. Downs and Mr. Bonner, I often delegate to them the process for leadership positions, the recruitment and the screening and evaluation. And once again, they took no shortcuts. They cast a net, they screened, they interviewed, they had a very rigorous and methodical process. They even made the candidates actually present an adult learning lesson. It was then evaluated. And in the end, I received an emphatic and strong recommendation that despite the fact, or I would say not despite, it's actually a validation of the fact that we had multiple outstanding candidates. And I will say that the finalists were both from inside the organization, which speaks to the caliber of our teachers, our professionals. But I received a strong recommendation for the appointment of Mr. Ryan Carl Ogren. And I got to tell you that I remember the day that I met Ryan, when Mrs. Hill told me that she was going to recommend him to be the band director of Walden Grove High School before the paint was even dry. I mean, the bricks were still going up. It was literally from scratch. And we all know, if you've been around schools enough, that band programs are a fundamental and super important part of any high-quality, comprehensive educational program, culture, experience, and they're also very complicated and rigorous. So I thought, here's this young man just fresh out of school, and he's going to be taking on a lot. And I will tell you that Ryan never looked back. After 11 years, he hit the ground running. He worked super hard. He organized people. He brought people together. He helped them to believe. He built enthusiasm, excitement, high standards of excellence, high expectations, but also high norms of character among his students. And frankly, they have performed at remarkably high levels over the years. If you were to look at their honor roll of achievement, state, national, regional, every sanctioning body in the state that has music program festivals and competitions, we've won. As a matter of fact, we just closed out the fall season, and our team, our marching band from Walden, had first place next to their performances on multiple occasions. So I know that Mr. Carl Ogren is a highly effective educator, and that he's tirelessly and relentlessly dedicated. I also know that he's been working to continue to grow and develop himself, just like he grows and develops his students. Mr. Carl Ogren's been pursuing national board certification, and I know that that's pending here in the next literally days in terms of those outcomes. He also just earned his master's degree in educational leadership from Grand Canyon University. So he's continued to grow. And I know he has a heart for adult learning as well. He has been a coach, a mentor in our staff development program. He's been a highly effective trainer and facilitator, teaching technology. Not just, he's kind of, how would you describe him? He's a committed person who loves to grow and learn and share in a variety of things. So he teaches technology classes on how to use our Google Suites and our Google Enterprises program. Very important topics, I might add. And so I just know that he's going to bring that same skill, that same just professionalism, passion, and commitment to his new job. And working with Ms. Mary Jo Boyder, I just know that our program is going to build on the solid foundation that Mr. Harcourt has produced and invested in, and that we're just going to continue to move on a positive trajectory. If you can tell by my words and my voice, I'm pretty excited about this. And it's my pleasure and honor this evening to recommend Mr. Ryan Carl Ogren for the position Director, Co-Director of Staff Development, effective July 1st, 2022, although he's going to be working plenty between now and then. And that is my recommendation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a quick second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President, I'd like to hope that some of the 15 people watching the video right now, one of them is your mother, who I am hoping is watching, who I had the pleasure of working with, so I know the family that Mr. Carl Ogren comes from. And I've been on the board for a while and watched him grow and lead and develop a program, and have learned to respect him and respect his drive. And one of the things that I appreciate most about Ryan is that if he learns something new, he takes it to heart and moves forward, and he is always willing to learn and grow, and I appreciate that about him. So as you can tell, I spent some time around him, so I really like him. And but I also know that he is. I'm glad that this, as we've had a stalwart individuals in this position for many, many years that have led this program to, I think, a pillar in our community. Other districts come here to learn how to do professional development, and as one of our stalwart members steps away and leaves this in Ryan's hands, I am super excited to have you there, and I'm grateful that there's from a high school perspective too. I think that's a really important aspect, that we kind of have two voices, this kind of very elementary, K-8 voice, and this older voice for high schools. And I'll stop talking because I'll carry on too, but I'm just grateful. I'm super excited about it too. In case you can't tell, I think it's going to be a good step. So,
Thank you. Ms. Lowell?
As the other board member who's had a lot of experience working with Mr. Ryan Carl Ogren, and a former booster president before I went on the board, I know that you will do great things. And I really appreciate your commitment not only to our district but to the community and all of your community work. And I know that that's going to reflect greatly in your new position. And Kevin, as somebody who's also retired, I know it's a lot easier to leave when you know the position's in good hands. And so thank you for all that you've done, and look forward to things coming. Congratulations.
Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. The motion carries. Welcome.
President Opalka, governing board members, Dr. Valenzuela, Mr. Bonner, Mr. Downs, thank you so much for this opportunity. Since I started teaching at Walden Grove over 10 years ago, which is crazy to think, I've always recognized the importance that our district has placed on supporting teachers and their professional development to better support our students. And as I completed my master's over the past year and a half, I also realized how lucky and fortunate, and how sometimes we take it for granted, what we have for our professional development program, and how that's not always offered in all of the schools and districts. Taking on this position and a new challenge with our district is extremely bittersweet as I prepare to leave working with my band and orchestra students and making music with them every day. But while I will miss that on a daily basis, I'm very excited to take on this new challenge and continue working to support all of our staff here in SUSD. I would like to thank and recognize Mr. Harcourt for all of his hard work, leadership, and vision, for what he has done over the past 15 plus years in developing our Sahuarita Professional Learning Institute, and for his mentorship over the years, as he was my first cognitive coach back when I first started. I also want to thank Dr. Hill and the entire Walden Grove family for taking a chance on a fresh college graduate 11 years ago to start the music program at Walden Grove. She has continually been a mentor, coach, advocate, always pushing me to be the best teacher that I can be, create the best opportunities for our students and staff. Thank you to MJ for her support in bringing me onto the SUSD tech team, pushing me to pursue my master's, always answering my questions, being a sounding board whenever I need it. Huge thank you to all of the Building 2 teachers at Walden Grove and the SUSD music team. They have been wonderful colleagues with support, laughs, tears, always pushing us to be better, to collaborate new ideas and make all of our programs better. And of course, thank you to my husband, Rusty, for his constant love and support, and I think he is ready to have me around on every Saturday during, as we call it, Bantober in October. So, as we prepare for the next school year, I'm excited to continue building off of Kevin's legacy, working to find new and innovative ways to support all of our teachers and students in Sahuarita. I truly believe that effective professional development can be used as a motivational tool for teachers, something that as we continue through the pandemic is needed to help keep teachers energized and motivated to best support our students. Thank you, Dr. V, Mr. Bonner, Mr. Downs, the entire board for your support and faith in taking on this position and continually supporting the development of our teachers. Thank you.
Well said. Okay, now we can move on to the consent agenda.
Yes, sir. And at this time, I will recommend the approval of the consent agenda in its entirety.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a thank you to all of the very generous donors that continue to support our kids in our district. The list to this meeting was pretty amazing, and just a lot to be grateful for.
Anything else? No? Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we'll move on to possible future agenda considerations. Does anybody have anything they'd like to put forward this evening? No? Okay. We'll move on and establish the next board meeting will be held on January 12th, 2022, here in the district auditorium. And no executive session, so I need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Have a happy holiday season.
Thank you.